You're standing in your kitchen late at night. The lights are off in the rest of the house. Only a thin glow spills from the sink lamp. Then you see it. A small shape on the wall, wings folded like a torn leaf. Perfectly still, except for a faint twitch, as if it's listening. Most people don't think twice. Some grab a tissue, others reach for spray. One quick motion and it's gone. But pause there. Because what you're looking at is not just a moth resting on your wall. It's part of something working quietly around your home every single night. Something you never asked for, and probably never noticed. A system that keeps your space cleaner, more balanced, and far less overrun by things you don't want inside. And the strange part is this. Removing it might do more harm than leaving it alone. That small moth on your wall isn't random. It didn't fly in by mistake just to annoy you under a ceiling light. It arrived because your home is already part of a larger ecosystem, one that extends beyond walls, windows, and doors. By the end of this, you'll see that moth in a different way. You'll understand what it eats, where it hides, why it keeps appearing near your lights, and why its presence often signals something else happening in your home that you never noticed. There's a hidden role it plays in controlling other tiny creatures. There's a reason it survives in places you think are sealed tight. And there's a reason it rarely shows up alone. What looks like a simple insect on your wall is actually part of a quiet cleaning cycle happening in the dark. The moth you see indoors is usually not the same kind that destroys sweaters in horror stories. Most indoor visitors belong to species that don't care about your clothes, your food, or your storage boxes in the way you think. They follow scent trails, humidity shifts, and microscopic food sources most people never notice. Some enter through open doors at night. Others slip through vents, gaps in window frames, or tiny breaks around plumbing lines. Once inside, they don't behave like invaders. They behave like survivors exploring a new environment. The reason you see them near lights is not attraction in the simple sense. It's disorientation. Their navigation system is built around natural light sources like the moon. Artificial light confuses that system, pulling them into small, glowing traps on your ceiling or walls. But the real story begins earlier in their life cycle. A moth starts as an egg, usually laid near organic material that will feed the larva once it hatches. That larva, the caterpillar stage, is where most of the real work happens. Depending on the species, these larvae feed on decaying plant matter, dust containing organic particles, fungi, or fibers that have already begun breaking down. That means even inside homes, they find food in places you would never think to look. Behind appliances, under furniture, inside air vents, or in forgotten corners of storage spaces. They are not cleanup crews in the human sense. They are processors. They break down what is already in transition, what is already weakening, what is already returning to dust. Then comes the transformation. Inside a cocoon, the caterpillar dissolves into something close to liquid before reorganizing into a moth. It's one of nature's most complete rebuilds. No part of the original body remains in its final form in the same way. When it emerges, it doesn't eat the way it used to. Many adult moths don't eat at all. Their purpose shifts entirely toward reproduction and dispersal. And that's where the cycle continues inside your home without you noticing. A single moth doesn't clean your house. It doesn't remove dust or scrub surfaces. But its presence signals something important. Micro-ecosystems exist in every home. Behind your walls, in air ducts, under appliances, tiny environments form where moisture, organic particles, and warmth collect. These are invisible zones of activity. Moth larvae, along with other small insects, become part of that cycle. They feed on what accumulates naturally: skin flakes, fibers, plant fragments brought in on shoes or clothing, and organic dust that settles in undisturbed areas. This doesn't make them helpers in a human sense. They're not working for you. They're working within a system that already exists whether you notice it or not. And that system matters because it prevents stagnation. Without decomposers and small scavengers, organic material builds up in hidden places. Mold finds easier footing. Other pests move in behind them. The balance shifts. Moths sit in the middle of that chain, not as leaders, not as threats, as participants in a cycle that breaks things down and resets material back into simpler forms. Even their attraction to light plays a role in their vulnerability. It pulls them out of darker, hidden areas and into open spaces where predators or environmental conditions limit their spread. What looks like randomness is actually constraint. They move within narrow boundaries shaped by biology, not intention. A moth resting on your wall is not aggressive. It doesn't bite. It doesn't sting. It doesn't defend territory. But the reaction people have toward it changes everything. A quick swat removes the visible insect, not the system it came from. If larvae are already present in a hidden area, the cycle continues. If conditions remain favorable, moisture, dust, warmth, new adults emerge later, sometimes in greater numbers. Disturbing them repeatedly can push them deeper into less visible areas, behind insulation, into storage gaps, inside spaces that are harder to monitor. The real shift happens in perception. The insect becomes an enemy, and every appearance feels like intrusion rather than signal. That mindset leads to heavier chemical use, more frequent sealing of spaces, and less attention to the environmental conditions that invited the activity in the first place. The moth itself is fragile. A light touch is enough to disrupt it. But the conditions supporting it are not fragile at all. They are persistent, slow-moving, and tied to humidity, airflow, and organic buildup. Removing one moth doesn't change that balance. It only resets what you see. Start with observation instead of reaction. Where do you see them most often? Near certain lights? Close to a pantry? Around laundry areas or bathrooms? Patterns matter more than individual sightings. Light sources draw them in, so reducing bright nighttime lighting near open windows helps. Warm indoor lighting near entry points creates stronger attraction paths. Next, airflow matters. Stagnant air in corners, closets, and behind furniture creates the still environments larvae prefer. Regular movement of air reduces those stable pockets. Cleaning is less about intensity and more about reach. Focus on areas that don't get attention often. Behind appliances, under heavy furniture, inside storage bins that stay closed for months. Humidity plays a quiet role. Damp environments support the breakdown of organic matter, which feeds early life stages. Keeping those areas dry changes the underlying conditions. Screens on windows, sealing gaps around vents, and checking door sweeps reduce entry points without needing chemical barriers. If you do encounter a moth inside, the simplest option often works best. Guide it toward an open window or light source outside and let it leave on its own path. That small act keeps you aligned with the cycle instead of fighting it. That moth on your wall is not a random visitor. It's part of a system that moves through your home quietly, adjusting to light, moisture, and hidden food sources you rarely think about. It doesn't understand your house as a structure. It responds only to conditions. And those conditions tell a story about what exists in the corners, behind furniture, and inside the spaces between what you clean and what you overlook. Most of the time, it's harmless. Sometimes it's even useful in ways you never directly see. Next time one lands near your light, notice what's really happening before reacting. Look at the stillness, the folded wings, the way it waits without moving. Then ask yourself what part of your home brought it there in the first place. If you've seen these moths appear in strange places around your house, share where it happens. Different homes tell different versions of the same quiet story.